This is a project looking at an economic analysis of solar photovoltaic, or solar PV as we call it, as a renewable option for generating electricity in Ireland. It's particularly interesting because in Ireland we don't really have much solar PV, whereas in many other countries they're leaning quite heavily on this in terms of generating more renewable electricity. And we were interested in seeing as the systems are becoming cheaper in terms of costs. People are talking about whether this might be an option for Ireland, and indeed policymakers are looking at it as one way for Ireland to meet our renewable electricity targets. So far in Ireland we've always used really onshore wind to meet renewable electricity targets, but now increasingly we're talking about solar PV. So we were interested in looking at the economics around solar PV systems. And this was a project that I carried out with some engineering colleagues, because really it's a multidisciplinary type of work where not only do you need to know the costs of something, but also how would it fit into the overall electricity system. So it's really like a system value approach of how utility scale solar PV might work in Ireland. And this was unusual because in most countries where it's already in place, they have much higher levels of irradiance. In other words, they have a lot more sunshine than us. So the question is, in a country like Ireland where we have less sunshine, lower solar irradiance, does it now make sense as the costs are coming down in the system? In Ireland, electricity is mainly generated from fossil fuels. And so the whole system is undergoing an enormous transformation. So it's really very interesting, I think, both from an economics perspective, but also from a policy-making perspective. How do we achieve this transformation in, I suppose, an efficient manner that doesn't, waste, I suppose, public money, but also that technically works and that the lights stay on, especially for electricity, of course. And the other thing that's very interesting right now is that where before we thought of electricity, heat and transport independently of each other, now we see through the electrification of heat and transport that there's kind of a blurring of the sectors. So the economics, I suppose, are becoming more complex, and electricity markets are becoming more complex as well. So that's kind of the context for it. So the key to all of this is really, if we can decarbonise the electricity system, then we also have a chance of decarbonising a lot of heat and transport in the future as well. So we still have a long way to go, but these are sort of the steps that we're taking. And the first step in Ireland has really been about implementing onshore wind. And we nearly have 40% of electricity some days generated through onshore wind. But I think we realise more and more in the future that to get to higher and higher shares of renewable electricity, we will have to diversify. The implications of what we've actually found are less clear, I suppose. We found that it is still quite expensive. So there is a judgment call. Should we be introducing policy support now, or should we continue to wait as the costs come down further? I think our feeling was that maybe some small amounts of policy support with the limited, a cap on the amount of electricity you would support, so that it wouldn't be unlimited to increase the cost of exchequer funding too much. That you could support some electricity, but maybe be quite limited for the moment while the costs are still quite high.